For decades, Boeing wasn't just an airplane manufacturer. It was one of the most respected engineering companies in the world. A name trusted by airlines, pilots, governments, and millions of passengers every single day. But trust isn't lost overnight, according to many former employees, industry observers, and later investigations. Boeing's transformation unfolded gradually over many years. It was not because of a single airplane, but because of a series of decisions that changed how the company operated. Those decisions would eventually cost Boeing billions of dollars and shake public confidence, and leave one question that still divides the aviation industry today. How did one of the world's greatest engineering companies lose the trust it spent nearly a century earning? Long before Boeing became the center of global headlines, it represented something entirely different. Founded in 1916, Boeing built its reputation over decades by solving some of aviation's toughest engineering challenges. During the 20th century, its aircraft helped connect continents, transformed commercial aviation, and played a major role in both civilian and military aerospace. By the 1960s, Boeing introduced the iconic 747, a revolutionary aircraft that reshaped long-distance air travel and became one of the most recognizable airplanes ever built. Inside the company, engineering wasn't simply another department. It was the foundation of Boeing's identity. Former employees have often described a culture where technical excellence, rigorous testing, and long-term thinking carried enormous weight in major decisions. That reputation wasn't built overnight. It took decades of innovation, countless engineering breakthroughs, and the trust of airlines and passengers around the world. By the mid-1990s, Boeing stood as one of America's most respected industrial companies. But success can sometimes create its own blind spots. As competition intensified and Wall Street demanded faster growth, the company faced a question that many market leaders eventually encounter. Should it continue prioritizing the engineering culture that made it successful, or begin optimizing for something else? The answer wouldn't arrive in an engineering lab. It would arrive inside a boardroom. In 1997, Boeing announced what appeared to be another historic milestone. It would merge with McDonnell Douglas, another major American aerospace company. On paper, the deal made strategic sense. It expanded Boeing's defense business, strengthened its position in global aerospace, and created one of the world's largest aviation companies. Investors welcomed the merger. Wall Street praised it. Many believed Boeing had become even stronger. But inside the company, some employees would later describe a very different story. Over the years, several former Boeing executives, engineers, and journalists argued that the merger wasn't just about combining two businesses. They believe it also brought together two very different management philosophies. Boeing had long been known for an engineering-first culture, where technical decisions often carried significant influence. McDonnell Douglas, by contrast, had spent years under intense financial pressure, placing greater emphasis on cost control and shareholder performance. Historians and industry observers continue to debate exactly how much the merger changed Boeing's culture. But many agree on one point: the years that followed looked different from the decades before. Boeing gradually moved its corporate headquarters from Seattle to Chicago in 2001, a decision the company said would help position it for future growth and allow its leadership to focus on broader strategic priorities. To some observers, however, the move became symbolic. They argued it physically and culturally separated senior leadership from the engineers and factories. Whether that interpretation is entirely fair remains debated, but it reflected a growing concern. The company was beginning to think differently. And as one competitor quietly gained momentum, Boeing would soon face a challenge unlike anything it had experienced before. By the early 2000s, the commercial aviation industry was changing faster than ever. Boeing was no longer the unquestioned leader it had once been. Across the Atlantic, Airbus had evolved from a challenger into a serious competitor. Airlines now had two manufacturers capable of building modern, fuel-efficient aircraft, and every major order became a high-stakes contest. The competition wasn't just about building better airplanes. It was about winning contracts worth billions of dollars. Every lost customer meant fewer aircraft orders, fewer long-term maintenance contracts, and less influence in a fiercely competitive market. Then, in 2010, Airbus announced the A320neo. Rather than designing an entirely new aircraft, Airbus chose to upgrade its successful A320 with more fuel-efficient engines and aerodynamic improvements. The strategy was simple. Airlines could reduce fuel costs without requiring pilots to transition to a completely new aircraft family. The response from customers was immediate. Within months, Airbus had secured hundreds of orders, placing enormous pressure on Boeing to respond. Boeing faced a difficult decision. One option was to design an entirely new narrow-body aircraft. The other was to modernize the existing 737 platform, allowing the company to bring a competing aircraft to market much more quickly. Boeing chose the second option. In 2011, the company officially launched the 737 MAX program. At the time, many industry analysts viewed the decision as commercially logical. Developing an updated aircraft was significantly faster than starting from scratch, and Boeing believed speed mattered in the race against Airbus. But every major business decision involves trade-offs. The question wasn't whether Boeing could respond quickly. It was whether responding quickly would create challenges no one fully anticipated. The 737 MAX wasn't designed to be a completely new airplane. It was an evolution of the decades-old 737 family. But one important change created an unexpected engineering challenge. The aircraft's new, larger engines improved fuel efficiency. However, because of the 737's original design, those engines had to be mounted differently than on previous models. According to Boeing and multiple technical analyses, this altered certain aerodynamic characteristics in specific flight conditions. To help address those characteristics, Boeing introduced a software system known as the Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System, or MCAs. Under limited circumstances, MCAs could automatically command the aircraft's nose downward if it detected a high angle of attack. Boeing's goal was to make the aircraft handle more consistently with earlier versions, reducing the amount of additional pilot training required. At the time, many within the aviation industry viewed software-assisted flight controls as a normal part of modern aircraft design. The existence of MCAs itself wasn't unusual. What later became the focus was how the system functioned and how much authority it had. In October 2018, Lion Air Flight 610 crashed shortly after takeoff in Indonesia. Less than 5 months later, Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 also crashed shortly after departure. Investigators examined factors including aircraft design, maintenance records, sensor data, certification processes, and the role of MCAs. Their findings led to intense global scrutiny of Boeing, the FAA, and the aircraft's certification process. For the first time in Boeing's history, one of its newest commercial aircraft programs faced a worldwide grounding. It wasn't just an engineering crisis anymore. It had become a crisis of confidence. The global grounding of the 737 MAX marked one of the most difficult periods in Boeing's history. Airlines around the world were forced to suspend operations of the aircraft. Deliveries slowed, production was reduced, and for the first time in decades, one of aviation's most respected manufacturers found itself under intense public scrutiny. Investigations by aviation authorities, government agencies, and independent experts examined not only the aircraft itself, but also the certification process and the relationship between Boeing and regulators. In the years that followed, Boeing faced lawsuits, regulatory actions, financial penalties, and multiple leadership changes. The company has said it accepted responsibility for serious mistakes, implemented safety improvements, and strengthened engineering oversight. Meanwhile, regulators around the world required extensive reviews before approving the aircraft's return to commercial operations. But rebuilding trust is different from returning an airplane to the sky. Trust can't be redesigned, can't be manufactured, and it certainly can't be restored overnight. Then, just as Boeing appeared to be stabilizing, another incident placed the company back in headlines around the world. In January 2024, an Alaska Airlines 737 MAX 9 experienced an in-flight door plug failure shortly after takeoff. The aircraft landed safely, and no fatalities occurred. Investigations focused on manufacturing and quality control processes. It renewed questions about Boeing's production systems and safety culture. Once again, the conversation wasn't only about airplanes. It was about confidence. Confidence from airlines. Confidence from regulators. confidence from investors. And perhaps most importantly, confidence from the flying public. It's tempting to look at Boeing's story and search for a single turning point. One meeting, one executive, one decision. Companies this large rarely change overnight. Culture shifts gradually. Small decisions accumulate. Incentives evolve. Priorities adjust. And years later, people often look back and wonder when everything started to feel different. Boeing's story has been examined by investigators, journalists, former employees, industry experts, and business scholars for years. While they don't all agree on every conclusion, many reach a similar observation. Long-term success depends on more than market share, quarterly earnings, or even technological innovation. It depends on the culture that guides decisions when no one is watching. Because culture determines what gets rewarded, what gets questioned, and what gets ignored. Boeing remains one of the world's largest aerospace companies. It continues to design, manufacture, and support aircraft used by airlines around the globe. In recent years, the company has stated that strengthening safety, improving quality, and rebuilding trust are among its highest priorities. Whether those efforts fully restore its reputation is something only time can answer. But perhaps the biggest lesson isn't about Boeing alone. It's about every organization that reaches the top. Success can create confidence. Confidence can become complacency. Complacency can make even the strongest companies vulnerable to decisions that seem reasonable in the moment, but carry consequences for years to come. In business, trust is one of the few assets that can't be measured on a balance sheet. It takes decades to earn, moments to lose, and years to rebuild. Boeing's story is still being written. And regardless of where the company goes from here, its journey remains a vital business case study. If you enjoyed this documentary and want more deep dives into the boardroom decisions that shaped some of the world's biggest companies, subscribe.